I'm Keilah Boyles, and my partner was Lee.
So what I thought about this was sort of you were superimposing other people's thoughts on top of the people you were videotaping, and then I think multiple avatars were created with the people on the screen, and then the images that you showed, like the ones with drawings on them, were sort of like what was going inside their minds, and you were sort of assigning. When you watch, you can assign different personalities to who you see on the streets. Um, and then I think there were some pretty diverse people. Like there was a couple that kept on kissing, and then there were people who were interacting, and it connects with the questions you were asking them, like what are your social fears, and it's like while they're meeting new people. So I thought it was relatable.
I liked the the responses that the people gave. I don't know, the questions were pretty personal, and that gave us a lot of insight to the different people who were answering the questions, and it seemed to be the same people over and over. So like slowly we got to know like what they were like, and that became like an interesting contrast to what was going on the screen.
Yeah, about the like not knowing who the people are and not seeing their faces, but like being able to construct a personality in your head was very interesting, but not having an image to put them to. A lot of times I was confused by the images that were being superimposed, but I also enjoyed a lot of them. For example, the woman that was being covered up, like her body being covered up, how it related to the question that was being asked and the response that was being given. I liked that a lot. And yeah.
I liked the interaction between or during the interviews. I thought it was really interesting. I was having a hard time understanding sometimes the visual aspect and how it related to the audio. Some parts of the visual, the video were longer than others, and I didn't really understand that. There's one artist that I watched who interviewed lots of people, and then he rotoscoped the entire thing, and just according to what they answered, he changed, the different rotoscopes. And that was pretty interesting, doing the whole thing in one media. But I thought it was pretty interesting. The questions were fun.
I think concerning the questions that you were asking and how it was all about their alter personalities or their inner personalities that they don't like to share, I think that the visual, as Andrew was saying, kind of doesn't match up. Maybe if, I guess it just doesn't serve the subject that they're talking about. And so I feel like if you had a group meeting in Second Life or in some other program where they're using their avatars to talk about why they have avatars, it, I guess, just reinforces the point I think you're trying to make.
Yeah, I had the same feeling on the video, that the video is a little bit too generic and arbitrary. Although I didn't necessarily mind it being arbitrary, I felt like if the screen was black, I mean, I've read the questions and just heard the answers, it would have been just as evocative, and maybe even more so, because I would actually be able to imagine, who these people might be. But the primary video that's overlaid, like a market scene, seemed so incredibly generic, and then you have these real specific kind of hits, and those seemed overly specific, and it just didn't seem like visually you were as clear on the concept as you were with the dialogue and the questions. I mean, I thought the questions were really evocative, and certainly the idea that you'd be asking questions like that in somewhat of a public sphere seemed to be really an interesting transgression, right? To ask a stranger intimate questions like that. And perhaps the reason I did think that you were asking strangers is you set up this one image of the public. But I almost felt like I didn't need then to see all these kind of like all of a sudden, things about hate speech and it felt a little bit like, whoa, that's a little bit too obvious and direct and right in my face. What time are we on? Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the process and how things went?
Well, my partner Lee, interviewed 6 of her friends, and they wished to remain anonymous on YouTube, obviously, for obvious reasons. So, we decided to make a video not using their images, and then in the process we wanted to create avatars, I guess, for them, but given the time constraints we couldn't do that, so we kind of just put it together quickly, but yeah.
When we had that first meeting and Freestar put the hockey mask drawing on his face as a way of being not himself or more himself. I mean, I think there's ways you could have solved the problem of their anonymity that would have been interesting in relationship to an avatar as opposed to kind of this going out and getting a more random imagery. All right, thanks.